Warm greetings. Welcome to Wednesdays for Water. We are a citizens collective aiming to walk and talk water. We try to meet every week and connect people with various water worries and wisdoms. And in the process, we wish to curate future water warriors. The way we talk about trivial things for hours, water too needs walking and talking to address the rising water distresses. The way Wednesdays for Water is conceptualized as a prime time show, it wishes to make water everybody's business. The idea of the series was conceptualized in August 2020, and by the end of the year, the team and the structure was pretty much in shape. We started in April 2021 with Dr. Rajendra Singh's inaugural speech. We wish to bring science and society together, and therefore we try to bring in every session either a policymaker or practitioner and a researcher or academician. We also think that future generation is crucial and therefore they have presence in each session. We are going stronger with every week now with session on either quiz, couple of weeks of hard talks and a week of soft session of art and music. There is a simple structure for each session of quiz, hard session and soft session which are moderated by the core team member. Here is a glimpse of what we call as hard sessions and soft sessions.
Respected Shri Asok Kumar sir, DG NMCG, participants of the webinar, members of Wednesdays for Water, team and the supporting staff, good evening and a very happy Republic Day to all of you. On behalf of the Wednesdays for Water team and the partnering organizations, Terry School of Advanced Studies, Environmental Design Consultant Ahmedabad, Vicky Fluxgen, Counterview, TIS, and the National Mission for Clean Ganga, we welcome all of you to the special talk on 75 years of water in India to observe the Republic Day and reflect on the journey of water in India post-independence. In the next 1 hour, we shall ponder upon what we have done to one of the most precious and sacred resources of the country. Where do we stand today? And what are the possible ways forward, given that with the business as usual, 40% of the population in India will have no access to drinking water by 2030. To deliver this talk, we are extremely honored to have with us Shri G Asok Kumar, IAS from 1991 batch and currently the Director General of the National Mission for Clean Ganga, the government's flagship program to clean the Ganga and its tributaries. He is also the project director for the National River Conservation Directorate, which was established to protect the country's other main rivers. He is best known as India's Rain Man for the Catch the Rain campaign, which he launched and successfully anchored in 2020 and 2021 to save and conserve rainwater in India while heading the National Water Mission as the mission director and the additional secretary, Jal Shakti Mantralaya. National Water Mission under his leadership became the chief implementing agency of the Jal Shakti Abhiyan Catch the Rain campaign with the tagline, Catch the Rain, Where It Falls, When It Falls, launched by the Honorable Prime Minister of India on 22nd March 2021. That's the World Water Day. The successful implementation of the drive to harvest maximum rainwater under the campaign has got him the popular moniker, the Rain Man of India. Congratulations, sir, for that. During his stint at the National Water Mission, he has instituted several innovative initiatives like the monthly Water Talks and the Water Tech Talks, which at times has drawn more than 2.5 million views. He also implemented the preparation of water budgets for all states, industrial and irrigation audits for water use optimization, and mobilization of funds to conduct studies on the impact of climate change on water resources. He has left his mark actually on a variety of other sectors, including water and sanitation, infrastructure, urban planning, civil aviation, power, sports, welfare, health, education, and information technology, among others, while serving in key positions he held in these sectors in his distinguished career so far. Mr. G Asok Kumar has received several honors, including the Government of Andhra Pradesh's Jal Mitra Award, the Government of Telangana's inaugural Telangana Excellence Award for outstanding work done in public administration, and very recently the Scotch Award for public service. As a mark of gratitude, on 190-acre lake, Ashok Sagar in Nizamabad district, and a village called Ashok Nagar in Kadapa district is named after him. So we are extremely honored to have you with us today. On behalf of the Wednesdays for Water team, we would like to express our heartfelt gratitude for accepting our invitation and joining us to deliver the keynote talk on 75 years of water in India. Sir, it's an absolute honor for us, and we would like to now invite you to deliver the talk. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Fawzia. It was a wonderful introduction. So embarrassing introduction too, but anyway, thanks for the good introduction. So I'm very happy to be a part of this program because this is something which is very close to my heart, talking to people and people's participation and getting the communication along. So we have been doing that wonderfully well. Our association goes back to the water talks and also the training program which you had done for the Nehru Kendras and trying to build capacity of those people for the Cash Rain campaign. You have done extremely wonderful work there. Greetings to all of you on the occasion of the 73rd Republic Day. What could be more apt than today to talk about a very important resource of just stop watch. I'll start because resource water, which would be probably the most limiting factor in the when we talk about building up a $1 trillion economy, $5 trillion economy by 2020. We are celebrating 75 years of independence, Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, and it's ironical that even now we are discussing the basic needs of human being: equitable, democratic access to safe and clean water and sanitation facilities. I thank Fawzia for the opportunity and also for reminding me of those water talks, which, as Fawzia was mentioning, we started in my previous posting. So every Saturday, every Sunday, we used to have some program or other. Every Saturday, we used to have dialogue with DMs. Almost 150 DMs used to have come in our program, and they were sharing the experiences. Basically, our idea was to get people motivated to work on water. So today, my speech or the presentation or whatever I'm trying to make the speech today would be on in 3 parts. And since the program of Wednesdays for Water program talk has been going on for almost a year, and a lot of people have been sort of associated with it. So I will not go into the statistics of the water, but I thought okay, in today's occasion of 73rd Republic Day, we thought we'll do a little bit of history of water in India and how and why we have reached the position we are here in today, and how can we get out of it the mess which we have created, and then probably go for a sustainable future. Now in the past, a very short introduction on what we used to do in the past. India, or Bharat as we know today, as is drawn its name from Sindhu, which literally means water or sea. So there is a very umbilical cord connect between water and India. And Indus Valley civilization, which was one of the oldest civilizations in the world, had developed on the banks of Indus River. Water had a very prominent place in Vedas, Upanishads, etc., etc. And we have seen many stepwells and old water bodies constructed in various parts of the country. The Harappa and Mohenjo-daro also had a lot of water bodies, water storage facilities there. So all these goes to show that there was a lot of connect with water in India. And what was the most unique about the water management in those ancient times? In ancient times, the belief was that water was a common property resource, and which has to be shared by all, which has to be maintained by all, which has to be respected by all. So this is a very, very important thing which we have lost in the awareness of time. Respect for water and thinking water as a common property of everybody's, and everybody has to be in it together to protect it, to save it, so that it is good for everybody. And unfortunately, we are now facing the situation of the tragedy of commons, where everybody's job is nobody's jobs, and so nobody does anything. So that's the problem which we are now facing. Those days, religious texts and customs had also element of water in it, and sacredness also added to it. The Rig Veda identifies the water as the first residence or ayana of the Narayana, and also the water is said to be the Prishta, the underlying principle of very foundation of the universe. There were many hymns and prayers for the water, and we had a dedicated god for Department of Water at that time. Varuna was there, and Indra used to be the god of rainfall. So all well placed, a lot of connect, respect for water. And historically, the water sources of India used to be the rain, rivers, and the lakes and ponds, etc. And all of them had a very significant connect with the people. So, which means that the rain in India was never a everyday occurrence. Even then, it had a seasonal pattern to it. The quantity of water depending upon the geographical locations. If you talk about the statistics now, India gets about 1,000 rainfall, and if you look at that's the average, statistically speaking. But then if you look at it, we have 100 rainfall in the western part of the country, and maybe 2,000 to 3,000 rainfall on the eastern part of the country. And this also has a temporal variation. It is not throughout the year. It rains through the monsoon periods only, and the remaining period we don't have water. So water which falls in the rainy period, rainy days, we have to sustain it, and for the remaining months where the rainfall is not there. So this is a very typical situation in India. And as I said, the earlier references to the water bodies, etc., also shows that this is the pattern which have been continuing for many years, and we had kings and rulers doing a lot of work to maintain that. See, if you look at there are in Dholavira, evidence shows that the Harappans had, as I said, in 3 millennium BC also tanks built. Cholas had built a lot of extensive step wells and extensive network of canals 1,800 years ago in Tamil Nadu. So across the country, you see that. And those days, I think groundwater was not accessible. So mostly the water, it was a surface storage. And if you look at the rainwater structures created in Rajasthan, the Johor and Tankajan, etc., very interesting structures built over many years and sustained even now. You have seen the step wells of Gujarat. Some of them adorn the 100 rupee note now. So very elaborate, intricate architecture, very beautifully designed step for the people to go down and pick up the water and use it. These are all basically done in the past. So probably at that time, the comparatively less population and less demand of water, there was sufficient water and there was no major crisis as such. But then when the British came, as I said, no, I will be speaking more about history of water and what happened to the country rather than statistics of water and how much demand and all these things. I thought this would be the best way to celebrate today. We'll speak about the history of water in India. So when the British came, they also were looking at water as an important source, because for them the revenue collection was very important, and the most important revenue they used to get was the land tax. They either in Jamindari system or something, they used to get the revenue from the people. So for them, the maintenance of water and water sources were important. So that they also maintained this thing. What happened in those period? The government, the powers used to build the dams, and then they also helped in maintain. And slowly, the British took over the decentralized water management to a central command. They had their own authority, building the dams, maintaining them, and then collecting money from people for the maintenance of it. And people also used to pay this money for the maintenance because their survival depended on the water coming to the tanks. So Ganga canals and all were developed. And if you look at the alluvial, the soil structure in Ganga basin, it is alluvial, so we could not build dams, but then canals, extensive canals were built, and water used to be taken through the canal networks which they had done. So when India got independence, India and Pakistan put together had probably one of the best or the largest irrigation canal systems in the world. So Indus canal system and the Ganges canal systems are very good, very popular, and well maintained also. And for that, the British had a fantastic bureaucracy also to look at it, a huge set of bureaucracy and bureaucracy with money collected for the maintenance irrigation supervision fee. The money was also used for maintaining the canals, and that system continued for quite some time. So this is something like I remember a book by Carl August Wittofogel, who talks about the Oriental despotism, a comparative study of total power, how the societies, the hydraulic society would call them, how the systems in India and China, etc., were meant to maintain these irrigation facilities and see that the water is given to the crops or to the farmers at times, so that they can collect money, revenue from the farmers for their sustenance. So the revenue from the agriculture produce was one of the most important sources of revenue, and it went on like that. Probably 1945, 50s, there was this, the bureaucracy was strong. They used to maintain these networks. As I said, the canals were all well maintained. Now, post independence, there was a change. This is a very interesting thing. When the India got independence, some of the Indus canal systems went to Pakistan side, but still we had some canal systems in the country. Then Jawaharlal Nehru realized that there should be the new structures to be built up, and he called dams the modern temples of the modern temples. The Bakra Nangal, Nagarjun Sagar, big dams were built to store water and then provide irrigation facilities. That was the way we progressed at that time, and we had a tremendous increase in population thanks to the proliferation attributes of Indians. We had so much of population in the country, and then we had the medicines also coming up, which reduced the death rate, and average life expectancy went up. So we had more population, more mouth to feed. In between 1950s and 70s, almost 10,000 million people were added to the population. So this probably had required pressure on the agriculture to feed, produce more, to feed more mouth. So we were going through a food crisis. We were actually getting food from America to feed our poor. Then the agriculture revolution was brought in. The agrarian, the green revolution increased the agriculture area, the production, and so the water was being used more for irrigation and to produce more food, and it went on. So the pressure on water started picking up. Since the population increased, the food requirement increased. That means agriculture at the area increased. Our productivity was very poor. So area increased more and more to feed more and more people. And with very poor water efficiency, our water usage went up very high. And slowly, the water was getting less and less. And as the demand was getting more and more, then by the time, there was another very interesting thing happened from 1945 to 1960, during the period when the British left, and the big bureaucracy which used to maintain the irrigation, they were sort of left out, because the money required to maintain the bureaucracy very high. We didn't have much money to maintain that. So the bureaucracy, maintaining this bureaucracy for the irrigation system sort of paved off, and the petered off, and the maintenance of the the irrigation canal systems sort of went down. And actually, what happened? The powers that we realized that it is better to waive off for populist measures to waive off the irrigation service fee, etc. So the money for the maintenance of structure also got lesser and lesser, which led to the lesser and lesser or poor maintenance of the structures. So the surface water irrigation more or less sort of died down. People participation had gone down, because that, even though earlier the public participation and people's contribution were there for maintaining the irrigation systems, when the British came and replaced that with the bureaucracy, and they were paying and getting the works done, that habit of maintaining the structures by the people themselves, by people's participation went off. So the people were looking at the government to maintain it, and since the government did not have sufficient money to maintain it, that maintenance went to disuse, and slowly that structure sort of collapsed. But however, our engineers were still proceeding with constructing more and more dams, because that was a source of income and money for them. So more and more dams will also be constructed. In this process, the irrigation potential created and the irrigation potential utilized became widened and widened. Earlier, this was almost going hand in hand. The irrigation potential created and the irrigation potential utilized used to be going hand in hand. But now the irrigation potential created was getting more, and because they were constructing more dams, and for justification they used to say that so much of area will be coming under agriculture. So the irrigation potential created became very high, and irrigation potential actually utilized became lesser and lesser because of the poor maintenance of the water structures, poor development of the branch canals, poor maintenance of the weirs and the substructures which were supposed to send the water. So actually that came down. It's very interestingly the another aspect of the British at that time, if you look at it, they also cut a lot of forests. They had this actually increased reduced the tree cover, which increased the sort of runoff, silting up, which resulted in silting up of the tanks. So the tanks, the big dams which we built up, started silting up, and in that process, the capacity of these tanks which were built up also has reduced. So we are left in a situation where the big dams, which we thought of serving us many years, were getting silted up, and the volume of water stored was getting reduced. So all these things, all bad things started happening in one by one. So surface irrigation was getting bearing the brunt of it. Then when the food irrigation from the green revolution started, they found out that the water requirement has to be met, because unless you give irrigation, they could not produce more. So the concept of slowly the tube well technology started coming in. So tube well technology was not very popular when it was introduced. There were not many takers for that, because people were all used to this water coming from the canals and then and fit for time, etc. But then slowly people realize that the structures are not being maintained, and the water which is coming to the canals were also coming up to some fixed times. So they had to be awake at that time to get the water, and water never used to come when they wanted it. So all sort of management issues were there with the water in the irrigation. And also when the area of irrigation agriculture increased, they found that the canal water was going only through the places where the canals existed. So we could not extend it to large areas for irrigation, and so by and large they started depending on rainwater, rain-fed agriculture, etc., which was very poor in productivity. So the surface irrigation or the canal irrigations had this two major problems. One or three major problems. I said that poor maintenance was affecting it. Second, it was restricted the area of cultivation to the area nearby the canals. And third was the water used to come not when the farmers required. So it used to come and they had to wait for when the water comes to do the irrigation, and all sort of problems started. But this tube well, very interestingly, sort of universalized and democratized the availability of water. So if you put a board, and if you can pump out the water, you can use the water whenever you want it by switching on the motor. and you can give irrigation when you want it at your convenience. So that was a very interesting model. People did not have to wait for the government to do the repairs of the canals. It was a sort of a people's movement. People could take control of the irrigation themselves. They did not no longer requested the mercy of the government to do that. So, however, it took some time for them to get popularize it. Governments were giving subsidies to push these irrigation tube wells. So there were schemes where the government of India was monitoring and incentivizing people to take up bore wells. This is a very strange. People may it may sound very surprising to the people today when we are trying to close the bore wells. At that time, people there were not many takers because India always resists change, and people Newton's law of motion continues in the state of rest or in the same line unless disturbed. So they wanted to continue with the same system of irrigation, and they were not willing to change much. But slowly in 70s, some of the states thought that to popularize or to push through, they started subsidizing the power, and review by collectors also to number of bore wells to be dug in the area. Sort of that slowly moved out, and then the people started realizing the advantage of having irrigation at their fingertip. When they want to do it, they can do irrigation. So the bore well irrigation started picking up. This was power was getting given, subsidized power for a short period was given by, I think, Tamil Nadu started it. So many people found that this is a very convenient way of attracting people, so they started subsidizing power. People, because of the subsidized power, started moving to bore. Slowly, the focus was shifted from the surface irrigation to the bore irrigation, and that's where our Kulkarni Sahib keeps on telling the Sukhoi takeoff to the 70s. The water, the number of tube wells suddenly shot up. It increased. The private entrepreneurs jumped into it. They started competition for digging the bore wells, and people, this governments were supporting with subsidized power. So the number of irrigation wells suddenly shot up, and it is something like almost like a vertical takeoff, exponential growth of power. As of now, India is the largest extractor of groundwater in the world. Almost 250 billion liters, cubic meters of water is pumped out from the underground aquifers. The water stored by our predecessors, our great fathers, and we are so far ahead in the groundwater extraction that the next two places occupied by China and USA put together cannot match us. So we have started extraction in a big way. It also not only created problem of drawing more water from the ground, it also put a lot of strain on our energy resources, because it required a lot of either electricity or diesel to pump water from the ground. So a lot of energy was also being used for pumping out this water. But this was very convenient for farmers, because farmers found it they can pump when they want it, irrespective of the water coming through the canal. They could go in whichever area they want to go. They could have put the bore and pump it. It didn't have to be near the basin of a canal or something. They don't have to actually fight with others for managing the flow of irrigation. The tail end people did not have any problem, because water used to come there when from the groundwater they could pick it up. So it was a very convenient win-win situation. So the water extraction went up so high that our food production also went up, and added to it, the other policies of government also was favoring this. The MSP which was being given for agriculture, people went more and more paddy cultivation. They could extract water from the ground, because the water was not charged. The power was giving subsidized or free by many states. So in this process, and the MSP ensured that whether you require or not, the government used to procure it, particularly in the states like Punjab and Haryana, etc. So it was not a market-driven thing. You produce it, government will take it, whether they like it or not. Even though we had 3 times, 4 times the requirement of rice, paddy stocked in, and the food grains stocked in our FCI godowns, We still had to go for purchase of more and more paddies, and so the this type of extraction of water continued for producing more and more crops which were not actually required, and it continued like that. So which has resulted in a tremendous depletion of water tables. So this is one major problem which we have envisaged after of the because of the over exploitation of that. Um, so we have reached a stage where out of 6,584 blocks monitored by Central Groundwater Board, a very large percentage of them are become overexploited. Punjab, I remember 130, water 138 blocks, 108 blocks are totally 300% overexploited. This was because we were exploiting a lot of water, but not putting back the water to replenish it. So see, if you take a bottle of from a bottle, if you start taking out more and more water and not replenishing it, one day it has to dry down. So that's what has happened in many places. The water table has gone down so deep that they are now putting more and more powerful motors to drop the water, which increases the power requirement, which in turn increases the carbon footprint. So we are in a big mess here because of the over extraction of the groundwater and not putting the water. So in this along this time, something else also happened. The pollution of water increased because the water security, there are two aspects for that. One is good clean water. One is the quantity aspect of it, and the second is the quality aspect of it. I was just talking till now about the quantity aspect. We were extracting water too much from the ground, and we were not saving sufficient water from the rainfall. So our even though the quantity of water coming from the nature remained the same, our storage was very limited, and over exploitation of groundwater resulted that the quantity aspect became a serious issue now. Along with that, we had another new problem coming up, was the pollution of water. There were population increased, the people started throwing dirt all over the places. The sanitation was not there. Our toilets in a very bad shape. We didn't have much toilet facility, sanitation facility. All these things led to pollution of the water sources, and many of the water bodies which used to be sources of water started getting polluted. They started getting encroached. Sewage used to this reduce the capacity of the water. This also the sewage flowing into the water in this water body polluted that water. So if you look at it, the Central Pollution Control Board's report in 2018, they reported that almost 351 river water stretches are more than permitted level of BOD. If you look at BOD as a indicator of the pollution, poor enforcement led to discharge sewage and effluents in the water. So quality and quantity were getting affected. Because of encroachments of water bodies, the storage capacity also came down. Then there was climate change issues, rainfall issues, all existing got into a problem. Now, so why was this? Why has this come about? Another maybe 15 minutes, I will stop it. Why did it come out? So I told about the major problems which we have faced in the last 50 years about the reduction of quantity of water and increase in pollution of water. So why did it happen? The main reason was that water was nobody's baby. Water was happened to be a state subject as per the constitution. As I said, it is a very classic case of tragedy of commons when it's everybody's job is nobody's job and nobody does this thing. So water, as per the constitution, is in the schedule 7 in entry 17 of state list. Water is made as a state subject to provisions of center under the entry 56. So the entry 56, where the union central government has power, is on the regulation and development of interstate river and the disputes about it. But otherwise, water resource management is a subject of state. And center could interfere under Article 262 for interstate river disputes, etc. But otherwise, it is partly, fully with the control of state government. And the central government earlier period was not really pushing through many of the reforms in the state government, and state government had their own compulsions. So they also pushed tried and the state governments, however, started building more dams. So they also did not spend money on maintenance of the dams and their canals, as I mentioned before, and it was basically pushed through by the engineers and contractors for building dams. So all these things went through. More dams were built, small major irrigation dams were built, but then the maintenance was very poor. So that led to many of the dams dying useful there. And as I said, when the subsidy of giving power to the groundwater people started, this was one very good way of getting votes from the farmers. So many states started subsidizing the power, and central could not do much because central was power is also in the concurrent list. So it was the state's prerogative to do that. So Punjab, a state which has so much of paddy being produced there, most of them, as I said, the surface dams and the canals had collapsed, and people started using the bores. It spends almost 8,000 crore per year for as a subsidy for power, which is almost 160% of the entire water budget allocation in the state. So the capital expenditure for the water sector, building dams, etc., was there, but very, very poor money was given for the maintenance of the assets created, and also money was spent for giving subsidy to the power. So the water extraction went on from that side. Uh, but over the years, they have suddenly realized that this cannot be sustained for long. The state governments are now looking at uh, of maintaining the water sources. Central government has also sort of trying to nudge the state governments in getting better water resource management thing. Now let us get back to the management of water in the government of India. The water, as though is a state subject, there was a sort of a ministry in the government of India to also look after it. And the water, since this state subject gets tossed around from various ministries, in 1951 it was under the Natural Resources and Scientific Research Ministry of Natural Resources and Scientific Research. We started up water. Then a separate ministry came up of irrigation and power in 52. In 1974, a department of irrigation was set up. It was, and the irrigation department and power used to be mixed and matched many times. They used to throw from one department to another department. In 1980, the Department of Irrigation came under the Ministry of Energy and Irrigation. Then after 6 months, it was bifurcated. Then in 1985, Ministry of Irrigation was once again combined with Ministry of Irrigation and Power. In September 85, Ministry of Irrigation and Power bifurcated and Department of Irrigation was constituted. See the way how the water was treated in the central government, because it was not of significance for them. So they used to throw water here and there to some department, other department, irrigation, power. They used to go around here and there, and not much interest was shown by the central government also in managing the water. Till 2014, when the Ministry of Water Resources and was sort of formed into a very major component, because the Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, when he came into power, he had understood the importance of water. So he had formed a Ministry of Water Resources, River Development, and Ganga Rejuvenation, involving the river rejuvenation aspect also into it. And it also, at that time, set up the National Mission for Clean Ganga to look at the pollution aspect of it. Earlier also Ganga Action Plan was there, but a focused ministry with the Ganga rejuvenation also added to the ministry came up in 2014. At that time itself, the Honorable Prime Minister started the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, which actually led to the construction of about 10 crore toilets in the country, which has really helped in reducing the pollution load of the ministry. And PCBs were made stronger to monitor the pollution of the etc. So this is from the central government side. More and more importance on water quality and quantity was started in 2019 when the second term came. A separate Ministry of Jal Shakti was formed, a very significant move. The water, which was divided into various departments in urban, many other departments were handling parts and parts of the water. They were all brought under one single command under the Ministry of Jal Shakti in 2019. This facilitated better and coordinated decision making. Drinking water and sanitation came up in the way the Department of Water and Water Resources and River Development came under it. So Ganga was already with the same department earlier, and the powers of the Namami Ganga was increased, that the DG and Co can sanction work up to 1,000 crore, and better quicker decision making and execution powers were given to the DG. So this has all resulted in picking up upscaling of the work in the Ganga Basin, and what we have learned in Ganga Basin is now being transmitted or being put into use in other river basin as well. So in 2019, when the Ministry of Jal Shakti was formed, bringing all the various department handling the water came together under one ministry. It helped us in getting behavioral change. We also nudging the state governments through some funding mechanism. The Jal Jeevan mission was started with the idea of providing tap water connection to every home. The Swachh Bharat mission too started. The Jal Shakti Abhiyan started. We started 256 districts were identified, and of the 1,582 blocks, where water stress blocks were identified for intensive water storage efforts. But that was done in a little bit of hurry. So 2019, even though the Jal Shakti Abhiyan was initiated, only about 2.5 lakh structures and all were able to be done. But learning from that, in 2020, we started the Catch the Rain campaign, and in 2021, this was probably because of the COVID, not much to be done in the people's sector. So in 2021, the Jal Shakti and Catch the Rain campaign started, which turned out to be a massive success story. This PM's idea of involving people, Jan Bhagidari, or getting people associated, people's participation was very well realized in this. In the 7 months from March 22nd, when he launched 2021, when the Honorable Prime Minister launched the Jal Shakti and Catch the Rain campaign, to November, December period when the monsoon ended. In that 6-7 months, we have done more than 47 lakh structures, 47 lakh structures, spending about more than 76,000 crore rupees in the country. We have made water harvesting structures in the country, different parts, all parts of the country, in urban areas, rural areas, with people's participation. This is a tremendous number, which if you look at it, if you look at the budget of the money spent under Manrega and the other associated schemes, the watershed development, the Amrit scheme, etc., 76,000 plus crore money was spent with people's participation, and all of these have been captured in the website. There are about 16 to 18 lakh photographs of the work done available in this, and all the work done is also listed out in the website which is created for this, jssctr.mow.gov.in. So with transparency, with total people's participation, with involvement of state government, with involvement of all stakeholders, with involvement of corporate sector, with involvement of NGOs, with involvement of youth, Nehru Kendras, we did this Catch the Rain campaign, which was turned out to be very successful, and luckily for us, we had good rainfall also. So we hope that with the large number of structures constructed, with the large number of with large quantity of rainfall, luckily which we received, we would have a tanker Mukta Bharat in the next summer time. So that is the one of the initiatives, big initiatives of the central government. Then, of course, the PM Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinjai Yojana came up, Adil Bhujal Yojana came up, as I mentioned, Jal Jeevan Mission to provide housing, the water connections to the households came up. So all these things has been put in the last maybe 10-7 years to focused on water activity, and a very, very focused activity to nudge the state governments, taking them on board also has happened. Otherwise, the water used to be kept as a state subject and left at the mercy of the state government. Now, central government is also joining hands with the state government and getting for augmentation of the water supply, as well as for distribution of water, as well as for creating better water use efficiency. Now, this is something which I said about the governance in sector, and I'll another 5 minutes I'll talk about the major issues in the water sector in India. So as we mentioned earlier, there is sufficient water available. The rainfall has been coming throughout the last 50 years, almost the same quantity, but for some drought years in between. But the demands have increased. The population has increased. The agriculture area has increased. The industry has increased. So the demand is kept on rising. But the plus point is that sufficient water is available if we manage it. If we do the supply side and demand side management, we will be able to tide over the crisis. There should not be any problem. We are marked as a water stress country. That's because it's a statistics. If the quantity of water available is divided by increasing population, as the population increases, the per capita water comes down. And this water stress indicator of is basically a statistical phenomenon demanding the water quantity of water available by the population. Obviously, if the denominator increases, the per capita comes down. So that is only a statistical thing. But if we do a proper demand side management, supply side management, we'll be able to tide over the crisis. There's no major crisis coming up. The biggest elephant in the room is the agriculture. The excess 90% of the water which is used in agriculture sector, at a very poor efficiency, water use efficiency of 30%, is actually the main culprit. So if we can really increase the water use efficiency in the agriculture sector, the requirement of water in agriculture can be brought down. We can go for better crop selection, and we can go for better irrigation practices, which can really reduce the requirement of water, and also supply cater to the demands of the other sectors like industry. And we have now the problem of pollution is another issue. The pollution is spoiling good water. So we have now taken steps with the help of state governments to contain the pollution. Where STPs are being built. Namami Ganga has done almost 20,000 crore worth of STPs being built in various parts of the Ganga basin. Similarly, in other parts of the country, under the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan and Jal Jeevan Mission, the urban, they are taking up sewage treatment plants so that the water is not getting polluted. And we also now try to get the water being nobody's baby tag to be removed. Departments are being coordinated in under the Jal Shakti Abhiyan Catch-the-Rain campaign. We have setting up of Jal Shakti Kendras in every district, where all the departments converge and work together to make the water plans, make the water security plans of the district, and see that the water budgeting is done properly, and water actions are not in silos but by working together. So this issue of increasing the water use efficiency has been identified. We also have identified that the agriculture, which takes up a lot of water, has to be looked through a prism of water. So earlier that was not being done. So agriculture being looked through the prism of water to ensure that the usage of water in agriculture is reduced and increase the efficiency of water by micro irrigation or technology or diversion of crops or taking up crops which requires less water, etc., has also been done. And we also, National Water Mission, earlier had started a campaign called Sahi Fasal, which was actually to promote crops which are suitable for the area, and depending upon the water availability of the area, that is also being taken up. And many state governments have responded. Haryana had responded well. They have reduced the almost 1 lakh acres of paddy in Haryana, and that is a major saving for us. So the way forward, As I mentioned, addressing these issues, the state government and central government are working together. There's no tutu meme. We both have to work together for to improve the water use resources properly and to increase the water use efficiency. The regular meetings are being done at the state, central government and secretary level and the minister level to address this issue, water as a common national resource. We are also nudging state governments to actually look at the power supply issues where the subsidies in power and all, which can actually really damage the groundwater extraction, too much of extraction. That is also being addressed. We are also pushing to increase the water use efficiency by better irrigation practices, pushing through better sprinkler irrigation, etc., etc. The 5 Rs, which are very commonly referred to: reduce, reuse, recycle, rejuvenate, and respect. So 3 Rs are the one everybody knows about it. Reduce the water usage by appropriate technology, auditing the water and see that the requirement of water for a particular process can be reduced in the industrial sector, and also in the agriculture sector by better irrigation practices, reduce the water usage. That's the R, 1 R, the first R. Second R is reuse, and multiple use of water can be done by appropriate treatment, and recycle the water with appropriate treatment. That is also being taken up. Technology support is being taken up. We are also working on rejuvenating the rivers and smaller rivulets so that the water flows in the river. And the last and important aspect is the increase in the respect of water. As I mentioned in the beginning, there was a lot of respect for water in our early years, but slowly it has come down. So we are now trying to get back the respect of water, push the state government for an urban areas, particularly for reuse of treated water, particularly the grey water, which can reduce the extraction of good water. If the grey water is put for a little bit of treating and put for non-potable purposes, extraction of water which is used for this non-potable purpose can be reduced. The treated water can be used for irrigation purposes. Again, this can reduce the extraction of good water from the river and see that the good water flows in the rivers, ensuring overall flow. We have now set up Jal Shakti Kendras to get better coordination at the district level. We are going to look at agriculture through the prism of water, and decentralized STPs and decentralized storage of water is being pushed around, and water governance has been taken up in a big way. We are also nudging the state governments for better pricing of water, reducing the non-revenue water, which is actually hampering in the urban areas, and also make the people's participation in a big way. So this is the main mantra: people participation in this water governance, and get them understand that charging or metering of water is very essential to ensure that the water resources is taken up and sustained. And in that process only, these type of water talks are very important. We have a National Water Mission also honored a lot of water warriors. Almost 44 women water warriors were honored, one on the International Women's Day. Water Talk, we have brought in given platforms for many of the activists to come and speak and show their work. So this and as Fawzia was mentioning, some of the Water Talk, we have got about 2.5 million views, which is an indication that there are a lot of people interested in water and to know about water and do something about it. Particularly the younger generation are very interested and very keen about the protecting the water. So this is a positive sign that water has become a national main issue of discussion. Water is being talked about. The reforms in water sector is being talked about. Reforms in water governance is being talked about. The conservation of water is being talked about. Reuse and recycle of water is talked about. This is a good indicator, and definitely if we can all work together, the limiting factor for this 5 trillion economy, which I said at the beginning, the water being a limiting factor, can be sort of and that issue can be addressed, and we have a commitment under the SDG goals, sustainable development goals, to provide access to clean water and good sanitation for the entire people. If we work together, and this seal, we will be able to achieve it before our target date of 2030. Thanks a lot. Thanks for a lot for reminding, patiently listening. I've taken about 48 minutes. Sorry, but I thought it was a good area to cover entire spectrum of it. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ashok sir. I think it was inspiring, it was motivating, it was enlightening. I think a lot of us, who have joined here and probably do not understand the historical perspective of water in India and what led to the situation that we are in today. I think you threw light on everything, literally. You started with everybody's job is no one's job. You highlighted about the tragedy of commons, especially keeping in mind the bore wells that you spoke about. Of course, how the Britishers converted our actually community-driven decentralized system into a centralized system. And again, we are going to we are trying to promote back to the roots. By giving the example of Indus Water Canal, you also brought out a very important perspective, that when we build water structures and when we actually break them with administrative boundaries, so that is not the way, water structures can be actually maintained, because water bodies or rivers don't respect administrative boundaries. So they have the river basin boundaries. And I think, Ganga, you are already adopting the river basin approach now for management, which is with GIZ, you're already doing that work. I think that's phenomenal. I definitely, also probably, the food security that we were trying to, how the demand for food grew. Also, we were emerging from Bengal famine and how it grew from there. And, we thought that probably the first thing that we should do is become food sufficient. And that's why probably, based on the government priorities, the water as such changed hands. So initially it was under the irrigation, and then, when power became the priority, and when the government said, even Jawaharlal Nehru said that dams are temples of modern India. So it changed hands but we never had a dedicated home for water. So the water ministry, of course, came in the 80s, 85, it came. But still we had multiple entities which were there. So again, even today we have, so rural development also looks at water, Ministry of Urban Development, Ministry of Shipping. If you look at water still has got lots of godfathers all around. But at least we have been able to merge two and bring them into Jal Shakti Mantralaya. So that at least there is absolutely no doubt, I think anybody would have it here, that water has been a priority agenda point in the last, water and sanitation both. How it has been implemented, and probably a good thorough study and learning from that to see that we don't repeat those mistakes again. So probably those are the things we need to definitely view. Community participation across all the I would say manuals that I see, whether everything that you spoke about, Jal Jeevan Mission, Jal Shakti, Atal Bhujal Yojana, or for that matter, all these yojanas that are there, the Krishi Sichai Yojana that is there, and Catch the Rain program. We have, community participation everywhere. Community is the key. But how are we really looking from just informing and engaging community to empowerment, to sort of all these things becoming more community driven, or the governance probably shifts to more community driven? A lot of work, sir, but I think the audience today is super excited to ask you questions. I can go on and on. I can meet you in your office and ask you a lot of questions too. So today I would pass it on. First, definitely, I would give a chance to my team members who are also quite excited today. So I will invite Mansi. Mansi is an independent consultant, and she has been one of the prime movers of this initiative of Wednesdays for Water. I think probably, the whole genesis of it, there were two people, definitely Mansi and then Ganesh, separately thinking about these two terminologies, Wednesdays for Water. And then God wanted us to come together and work on this, probably that we have started this. So Mansi, over to you. And once again, thank you very much, Ashok sir, for your talk. We will take a little extra time from you, sir, today. So you please pardon me for that, but a lot of questions, sir.
Thank you, Ashok. Yeah. Thank you, Ashok sir, to listen to you live. This is the first time I'm listening to you live, otherwise listening you here and there. And thank you for the wonderful overview taking us from the antiquity to the today. And thanks, Fawzia, for giving me the first opportunity. I was hoping to be the last, but nevertheless, I have two questions, but one is a request. So I will put the question first and the request later, because request will take some time. So because we are talking about groundwater extraction and we are talking about polycentricism, which is present here, we still find a lot of grassroots innovations in water systems struggling to really couple with the state government, city government, and even the central government to really foresee their initiatives to happen on. And basically what I am trying to say is that can we do a little bit more on decentralization of the water system? Because you yourself started with the point that it was a community water governance. Unfortunately, over the time, we are making it governmentalized water governance. So if we have to decentralize, I think the national thing has to be more, loosened up and more empowering has to happen. There are many activists who are sitting here, and you will see in the chat box, they have questions that they want to do something on ground. We have identified more than 100 initiatives by youth, but they struggle to get funding. So it's more about decentralizing. Now, my request is that because we are already 1 year old, can you really do something for us to make it at least national television with one slot for us? That's my request. In the DD News or somewhere. Thank you so much, sir. I just made a big jump to make this request to you because we are running it every week and we have been successful.
Thank you, Mansi. Yes, we are growing stronger, sir. Over to you for Mansi's question.
Okay, thanks a lot. So if you look at it, probably we had started this concept of water talks first time in 2019, and I'm happy that you have taken it over and made it into a bigger thing. So 2019, we started the water talks in the National Water Mission, and then in 2020, we went and this third Friday onto the web platform where we got so many people. And then inspired by the success of that water talk, which we got about 2.5 million views, sometimes we had a water tech talk on every Saturday, on second Friday. A lot of new innovative technologies are being discussed in that. It's very, very interesting that under National Water Mission, it's all available in the website nwm.gov.in. The tech talks are available. Then all the 34, 36 water talks which were there by activists, they are there, policymakers all came for the water talk, which is available. And then we also started a water business talk to look at to bringing up the water, the business opportunities in water sector. So every third Friday we had the water business talk, and every Saturday we used to have a Catch the Rain dialogue with DMs. Almost 150 DMs have talked to us. It's all available in the website of NWM. Now, having said that, I said this is one of the very, very inspiring things which is happening because we could connect with so many people in these water talks. And in fact, there were times when during one of the water talks, it happened on a Dasara. So the main speaker said that I was waiting for a call till 2:30 to cancel this program because we thought that Dasara nobody works. But since you are there, the work was going on, and we had almost 40,000 views at that time on that Dasara day also, which means that there are people who are following it up. And since you are doing it regularly, definitely there will be a lot of people following this, and that is an indication that water has become a very important point for discussion and for people to connect. This is very important because earlier probably nobody would have spent so much of time on discussing or listening to water. So that is a very interesting thing. So your first suggestion of decentralization, this is exactly decentralization. No? You are talking to people and then empowering the people, and they are knowing about what's happening in the country, in various parts of the country. And because of the digital platform, these are recorded and kept in our website, so people can and look at what is happening in different parts of the country. So a lot of decentralization of information is happening. That's one part of it. Second, if you look at the Catch the Rain campaign, which we did, that was basically a total decentralized campaign, and it was totally done at the village level and decided by the village and decided by the sarpanchas of the village and by the people. So we are focusing, and PM is extremely focused on making Jal Andolan a Jan Andolan. He is very much aware. That's why when we talked about when we broached the topic to him in the of the Catch the Rain campaign, he jumped at it, and we started that in a very almost 20 days time. It came in Man Ki Baat of February 28, 2021, and we launched it on March 22nd. Imagine a nationwide campaign being launched in just 20 days time. We had to get all the people on board, all the chief secretaries on board, all the ministers on board, all the district collectors on board. And in the process also, in the last 6 months, I have held meetings with all the DMs in the country, on Catch the Rain campaign. That's why it has picked up 45,000 likes. So it's a totally decentralized campaign, and all water initiatives are decentralized. So please understand, you are telling about how to get funding. Now, funding is and if you look at the Jal Jeevan mission also, there are the powers of doing this work has been given at the water and district water and sanitation committees. The Jal Shakti Kendras are coming up here as a decentralized. So the platform for water is decentralized. There's no doubt about it. And if it's not happening, please tell me. We are, in fact, Atal Bhujal Yojana is also incentivizing decentralized decision making and implementation. So everything in water sector, excepting in the major building of major dams or the India Basin transfer like Kenpethu and all these things, is all done as a part of the decentralized portion of it. And your request for making it big, definitely I'll send it across. This is a wonderful thing. I will definitely take up with Doordarshan and all these things, and also honor the people who have been doing it and so passionately do about. We will definitely get a bigger stage for all of you. From my side, I will definitely guarantee that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. That's very motivating for us. So quickly, I think I'll go to Bibhu. Professor Bibhu Nayak is a professor in TIS, Hyderabad, and over to you, Bibhu, for your question.
Yeah, thank you, Fawzia, and thank you so much for such a wonderful talk. Yes, I would like to I do not know whether it's a question or so. We have a national mission for Clean Ganga. What kind of initiative that the government is planning to take off for the other rivers in the country?
Okay, very interesting point. I don't know. You are from Hyderabad.
Yes, okay, sir. I'm based in Hyderabad. I'm from Odisha.
Yes. Okay, good. So Hyderabad, I have connection. The outer ring road and all have been done and conceived by me only. And then we have done a lot of work in Hyderabad sector also. Yes, in Hyderabad, we had many STPs built. These are all built under the National Mission, National River Conservation Plan. There is a parallel mission which is happening called NRCP, which is actually for the conservation of water, other rivers. But unfortunately, the NRCP had Ganga in it, and then in 2009, Ganga became very big, and the National Ganga River Basin Action Plan was prepared. And in 2015, that became bigger with 20,000 crore or 30,000 crore budget. So NMCG came like that. This NRCP is still there. I am still heading it, as was mentioned. I'm the project director for that. But we are now planning to implement what we have learned in NMCG to the other rivers. So we are putting up a cabinet note for that. So national, probably NMCG will have another vertical coming up as for the other rivers. So the idea is that the models of HAM, hybrid annuity model, which are taken up in NMCG, or the one city, one operator concept, which has taken up there, or the district Ganga committees, which are looking at the action plans in the Ganga Basin. Probably in every district, we'll try to do that. So whatever good practices we have learned, we are trying to push into the other river basins, and they take up on a priority. And if you notice, there is a central monitoring committee headed by the Secretary of the Ministry of Water Resources, Department of Water Resources, on the pollution stretches in various parts of the country. The 351 polluted stretches of rivers have been identified, and we are constantly in touch. And every month we are meeting with the chief secretaries of the state to see that the pollution of these rivers have reduced. So the latest report we say that many areas the pollution has come down, partly because of the monitoring of the NGT. Second is because of the awareness, increased awareness of the people. People are seeing Ganga. People who have seen and came to Kumbh Mela and found that the Ganga water is very good. Now demanding the state governments also to ensure that the Ganga, the rivers are to be clean. So that is a process which is happening, and probably I would say that if so much of awareness come in, so much of public Janbhagidari comes in, we can probably work out a good reason. So this is definitely in the pipeline for putting the experiences and the lessons learned in Namami Ganga to for other rivers, the river for protection, rejuvenation of other rivers.
Thank you very much. So I next go to Ganesh. And also, sir, Ganesh is, like, as I said, it's a multi-stakeholder partnership through which we are running this Wednesdays for Water program. So Ganesh actually has a startup. I spoke to you about him also this morning, that FluxGen Technologies. And you have already instituted business talks. So I will hand over to Ganesh to ask his own question. And maybe we could, if you could please, even if we could have him for one of your business talks, it would be amazing for us also.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Fawzia, for this opportunity. Sir, this is the best Republic Day spent. I've heard the story of water from you. Thank you so much for your time for this event. It also reminded me, I'm 38 years old. I've seen water in different levels, from well, tap water, sump water, tank, one more tank at home, today even a tankers that come to our place. So in a way, it also reminded me of how tragedy of commons has directly affected me. And I come from the city of Bangalore, and you can expect, most of my education was in electronics and IT. So my question to you is, or rather, I would rather need a validation from you, because you've been in this field. Water as a liquid, as you know, is transparent and clear. My hypothesis, considering the fact that there is a crisis, what if we make the data of water transparent and clear? I mean to say, can we ensure that we have the data of water at all levels and ensure that it enables us to solve this problem? I mean, it is natural tendency for a person coming from Bangalore to think from IT lens, but I would like to hear from somebody like you who has seen.
No, it's
like to hear your thoughts.
It's very important. It's very important, because one of the major problem of water, one of the major issues of water is poor data. See, there are a couple of issues in this. One, unless you measure it and get data on it, we will not be able to monitor it, and unless we monitor it, we will not be able to improve it. So see, the problem is because of the various political patronages or something, etc., we are not able to meter the water which is being extracted from the state. So we are trying to push for universalization of metering, so that even if you don't charge water, at least we should know the water which is being extracted. That's one aspect of it. Second is but the very important aspect is of the governance issue. It is the central state subject, and all data is being handled at the state level. So there is different state governments have different units to measure. We are actually trying to evolve a national consensus on interoperability, and then on a uniform standards of measure talking. So if you look at it, some people they talk about TMC, some people QSEC, some people the acre feetage, and all different areas have different traditional methods of measuring and talking about water. So we are trying to get this thing out. So as under the National Water Mission, there was one of the first goal of National Water Mission is to have a common database for all the and make it available to the public. That's being done. This NWIC is also there. National Water Information Center has also come up, and the last 2-3 months, very specific focused attention drive is being done to have interoperability of data and a common database for entire country. So the Sriram Vedreji, who is the advisor to the minister, and we are both are looking into it. We had held a couple of meetings also on that. So we are trying to evolve a system where this data would be available to the public at wherever possible, because there are certain issues like the interstate boundary border issues are there. So this is where a problem which we are facing in water is, see, because of water being a very sensitive, even the interstate data on water, river flowing is not being, the fight between Telangana and Andhra on water is happening. So they are telling that we'll not be able to share the data. But if you notice, central government, as I was mentioning, had been using some sort of leverage, some sort of soft mechanisms to get this together. See, the classic example is of the GST Council. See, taxation and division and all was not happening, and they was fighting. But if this central government could push into a GST Council, and the decision of some powers of the state for taxation is passed on to the council. Similarly, probably we should have a mechanism without hurting the federal structure of the government. Probably have to have a system where the collective decision can be taken up. In this, probably we can look at for sharing of data. See, when we Brahmaputra and China in river, we may have a problem in sharing water of the border state because of the national security perspective. But that cannot be mentioned about between states. It is one nation, so they should not. But then there are regional parties which really address, come to power, or look at the bogey of water being taken away and all these things. You find a lot of fight between Tamil Nadu and Bangalore, Karnataka on the Kaveri water, and etc. is happening. So probably it's time that central government may have to look at a system where a sort of a water council can be made in the states, so that there's a forum for talking it up. If you look at it now, government, we also come out with some of the water inter-basin dispute tribunals have been all abolished and made one. So some reforms are also happening. Water is being looked at it, and data is one of the biggest lacuna in the state government, the national government, and water sector, which we are very, very aware of it, and we are addressing it in very, very focused way.
Thank you very much, sir. Ganesh, I hope you have got the answer to your question. We have Professor Kansal from the Department of Regional Water Studies at the Terry School of Advanced Studies, and he had raised his hand. Professor Kansal, if you may please ask, share your
thank you, Dr. Fawzia, and thank you, Ashok, sir, for a very, very informative talk. Thank you, sir. Actually, sir, I have two questions, though they are interlinked. The first thing is that, yes, you have rightly said that the water was a people managed systems since earlier civilizations. Government took over, and of course, people have distanced themselves. And now we are again talking of decentralized systems, people participation, and people managed systems. Now there is a generation gap. The people who perhaps knows the system well and who manage the system, they're no longer alive, and the present generation perhaps may not be that much equipped, though we have large number of innovations also coming in, but they are very few. So people may not be aware that how to manage the system. Even if we talk of Jal Jeevan Mission and we talk of panchayats to come up with their own scheme for piped water supplies at home. So the point is that water is also a very technical subject, the kind of situation we are in. So in terms of handing over back to the people for decentralized level management, it cannot be all of a sudden, and there has to be a proper way by which people can be empowered, people can be trained, people can be, so not just awareness, we have to go a little bit more. So that is how to bring back that system from the point of view of handling the water, which is also a scientific and technical aspects. Second interlinked question is, we are talking of again the issue of water being a state subject. On one side, we all recognize that water has to be managed decentralized. So what is your view that water should ideally be? Is still be a central subject or continue to be a state subject? And the way right now it's many aspects in concurrent list. So these are, I'm an engineer, so perhaps my question may be naive, but sometimes I wonder that how people can manage, the current generation can manage resources at decentralized level. Thank you, sir.
No, actually, one big advantage of the younger generation is the technology, which the previous people don't have it. So you can have sensors, we can have IoT, all these things which can help us in monitoring. SCADA systems have come up. So a tremendous explosion of technology has come up, and which has resulted in facilitating the betterment. See, now I can, in Ganga also, I can know the quality of water coming into the STP, the quantity of water and the quality of water coming out of the STP. All that can be measured and put up in a dashboard here. So probably we can use technology as a substitute. The experience of elder people were there, but now as a substitute for that experience, probably we can use technology and then the wisdom of the or the guidance from the elder people using this in interpreting the data from these technological devices, which can help us in doing it. Second is capacity has to be built definitely of the people who are managing the sector. But as I said, probably the institutes like dairy and all, etc., who have been doing a lot of work on the people's participation side, and they are also technical centers. So we will definitely try to give more technical training to the people who are destined to handle these water issues in the states. And your suggestion of improving the capacity is well accepted, and it has to be done. Probably my take is that use of better technology and connect with the people would be the best solution to overcome this sort of gap.
My question is like, we have Catch the Rain campaign and many campaigns that are running on rain. So is there any effort by the government on capacity building and training people on rainwater harvesting?
Exactly. This is the concept behind the Jal Shakti Jal Shakti Kendra. So Jal Shakti Kendra is basically meant to have people trained at the local level. See, what is suitable as rainwater infrastructure in Ladakh is not suited for Kerala. What is suited in Meerut may not be suitable in Rajasthan. So this has to be depending upon the climatic conditions and depending upon the soil substructure, it has to be designed. So we are actually forming this Jal Shakti Kendra to ensure that a person would be available who will help in the local people to set up rainwater harvesting structures. And Fawzia also had taken a lot of training programs on that. So she was also involved in training or giving rudimentary training actually to the people of the Nehru Kendra who were actually propagating or were working as our agents in the district to propagate the Catch the Rain campaign. So we are definitely looking at getting the information at the local level for rainwater harvesting structures, the estimates to be prepared, appropriate structures to be designed, and also I have told them that they also should have a list of contractors or people who are able to do the work. This may take another 5-6 months, but the issue is that this has to have, we can only give direction. This has to have initiative coming from the local level. We have actually paid them districts 2 lakh rupees also to set up the Jal Shakti Kendra and identify a person, identify not one person. I said we can identify any number of people. It need not be a government employee. It could be a person who is passionate about water, who can talk about the appropriate structure there to be posted there, so that people's doubts on rainwater harvesting structures can be clear. So clearly we are telling this message from here. It has to be taken up at the district level. Why don't you meet the district collector and ask him where is the Jal Shakti Kendra and whether it's functional or what has been done. And my direction to the collectors also was to have a mobile number or something which can be made publicized through wall writings, paintings, etc., and sent to in the district in the district portal, etc., that people can call up that number and ask for information on what are the appropriate rainwater harvesting structures. Your involvement is very much required to see that it is done at the district level. See how many we can write letters and letters to them, talk to them. If they're not implementing, it's very difficult. But the local populace can put pressure on the district administration, get it going.
Yes, sir. I will surely do that, sir.
Also, I think you made a great point, sir, that, I know how I came to you. And I said, sir, I want to do this training. So I think it's very important that community members come forward. It's very easy to sit and complain, but how you can step up and how you can come forward and be, share, offer your services. If you know something, please come forward. Government alone can come up with policies, but for those policies to be successful, one is we need aware citizens. And the other thing is that, if you think you have those skills, please step up, please reach out to the government and extend help. But I think we are also having district water planning committees are being set up, and probably, for a holistic perspective. So I'm sure it is being set up in your district also, and it will be held up. Sir, I will take maybe two more questions, if you kindly permit me to do that. Huh?
Okay, no problem.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
So one is Suparna. Suparna, please, can we have your question?
Yes, thank you so much. This was a very comprehensive talk on the history of how the water resource management is also changing in India. So I have a question about some of the emerging approaches like the water, food, energy nexus approach and the virtual water flows concept. So, sir, this is quite new and we've been talking about it and also using it in our teaching and research. But how is it being envisioned in India's water management? Could you please share?
Yes, as I said, no, the water, food, energy nexus is very important. So that's why we mentioned about the Sahi Fasal campaign, which we're doing. We are trying to increase the water use efficiency by reducing the by reducing the wastage of water in this. Energy, you mentioned, we are actually propagating the zero-based natural farming in the sector in Ganga Basin. We are also returned to the state governments to have a relook at the policy of giving subsidies to the in power sector, so that the unrestrained pumping of water is happening. We also in touch with the agriculture ministry to ensure that wherever the water table has gone down, they should go for crops or propagate crops which require less water, and wherever people are not willing to change, use either better irrigation methods or propagate better practices, etc. So this is a thing which we have been seized of, and unless it is very difficult to change the mindset of people to move from the existing mindset of paddy. MSP, as I said, is one major issue which is pushing. So what happens in water is not the policies directly related to water is the culprit. The policy of subsidy in power is some other sector. MSP is again some other issue. It's not related to water. The policies in some other sector is actually having a tremendous impact on water. That's the way it is. So that's why we are trying to bring in the interdepartmental coordination and take up the policies which are cross-cutting each other. The classic example is if you say that solar power, which we are now telling solar pumps for extracting water. It is good that it may reduce the carbon emission, or it may our nationally determined goals we can contributions we can improve. But if you permit more water to be drawn out from the groundwater ground, the water level goes down. So it is actually two policies which are having contradictory results. So these type of contradictions have to be addressed probably by getting all the stakeholders involved and taking a common decision suitable for the country's benefit. That's the way it should happen.
Thank you, sir.
You so much, sir.
I think, Madhulika, your question, please. And there is a question on blockchain technology for digitalization of water. I think we have discussed that probably it's definitely required that we work towards, we are looking at better data. So Nikhil, we've already discussed about that. Madhulika, would you like to ask? I know you wanted to ask whether we can have a lake act. Huh? So
yeah.
Madhulika is looking at Hyderabad again. Huh? Yeah. Yes, Madhulika.
Yeah, thanks, sir. It was really a great insight, and it was very good. A happy Republic Day to all of you. So I'll not be wasting a lot of time. Sir, I'm working in Hyderabad on lakes, and in 2019 I got the National Water Award also. But sir, I'm maintaining the lakes from 2016, but I still find out that because of the absence of any kind of real lake act, and I know that you have also done a very good job on Ashok Sagar, which is famous on your name only. But the problem with that is still this, what you call the private patta owners and government owners.
Hyderabad, yes.
And Hyderabad is a growing city. And I mean, after doing a lot of awareness also, I feel out that somehow it's very difficult because there is no criminal act and some act is needed. So this is finding out, I'm really find out difficult. Can you suggest something, please, sir?
See, if you remember Hyderabad, Huda, earlier Huda, we have done a lot of lake restoration. Some of the beautifications of the lakes were done. 177 lakes were identified. The Safail Guda, the Miralam, then many lakes, almost AS Rao Nagar, all these lakes were restored during my period at that time. So the problem with lakes is there are two. One is the sewage. Wherever the sewage network is not there, the people very happily send the water down the lake water, and it gets polluted. Second, the appetite of real estate people to grab as much land as possible by encroaching the lake land. This is where the local administration has to take action. The water bodies have to be notified, and NGT has very clear orders that water bodies cannot be encroached upon. I can tell you the example under the Catch the Rain campaign. We had restored almost 42 lakes, big tanks in the Ghaziabad area, which were sort of encroached upon, and it was almost like a football field, very same level. Now the district administration had marked it under the Catch the Rain campaign. We had told them that using old revenue records, mark the boundaries of the water bodies and show to public. See, in India, one good thing is that if you mark the boundary of the water bodies, there will be a lot of public pressure to remove the encroachment. So our idea was that first time you mark the boundaries and make it in the local, publicize in the local bodies, so that there's a lot of local pressure on the administration to act. So these are all to be acted at the local level. And if there are the guidelines of NGT is also very clear that all these encroachments have to be removed. You can also complain to the Chief Secretary and ask them, because he has to file some reports to the NGT. So you can put pressure to the Chief Secretary also to get the encroachments removed in the lakes. And awareness, as you mentioned, is probably very important. And I would say that awareness of the boundaries of lakes are very important, so that public can really put pressure on the administration. So I am a big orator of public participation, and I always say that public participation is the panacea for all this problem, decentralized public participation.
Thank you very much, sir. I think there are literally unlimited questions, but time is of course limited, and we will have to end this session. A lot of these questions, I will try and come and meet you in person and talk to you about it. A few of them, we will see how we can take it forward. There is Nikhil who says that blockchain technology, he is willing to demonstrate it. So maybe I can separately discuss with Nikhil, and we can talk about it, how it can be taken up forward. So once again, many thanks to everybody who has joined us today. Thank you very much, sir, for again, for all the patience that with which you have answered varied kind of questions that came up, and there was one difficulty also that came in. But thanks a lot for all the amazing encouragement and answer that has been provided today, sharing your thoughts, leaving us even more motivated. And also, sir, probably a lot of people who are present here today would like to come forward and join in a large number of initiatives when they see that the motivation, the example in front of us. So that's something that I quote to a lot of my people, my students, of course, I do share with that. So thanks a lot. Thank you very much. Our next session, which is on February 2nd, sir, that is actually the World Wetlands Day. And on that, we are having keynote speech by Balachandra Dattare Monde Padmashri on wetlands action for people and nature. And lastly, sir, we would be really honored if we can have Namami Gange on board with us on the Wednesdays for Water as well.
Very
And
good.
we would be formally writing to you also to see that if we can have Namami Gange on board with us. And any activity.
So let me use this platform to invite. No, let me use this platform on World Water Wetlands Day, February 2nd. Namami Ganga is also having a program. I think it starts at 11 to 1 at the Namami Ganga site, and we have requested all the state governments. I have returned to all the chief secretaries to have a program in the districts. If any of you are interested in following it up, please follow up with the district administration. They would have sent it down. The chief secretaries would have sent it down to district administration for taking up programs in the district. Or kindly join us also in the launch of the nationwide program on the wetlands on February 2nd at, I think it's 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, I believe.
Sure, sir. We will definitely do. I will reach out to your office also to find out about it. And we will definitely, it would be a privilege for us. Anything that Wednesdays for Water can do for betterment of the water sector in the country, we are more than happy. It's on behalf of all the team members that commitment that we are making to you, that you can always let us know, and we would be happy to contribute in any which way. Thank you very much, sir. Thanks a lot. Have a very nice evening.
Asok Kumarji, nice meeting you. I missed the program till 6:05. I just joined very late. G Asok Kumar is an old friend of mine when he was in Huda.
Correct.
Jointly we protected 169 lakes, which was in 2000 it was notified, and we tried our best. Nice to meet Ashokji. I'll keep in touch with you. Thanks for
Thank you.
Wednesday Water.
Thank you.
Yeah, Madhulika also, she's doing very good job in Hyderabad.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. It's a platform where, we meet from different parts of the world. I think COVID has actually provided this virtual, a virtual life to all of us, but at the same time, it has actually made the world even more smaller place. So we are able to really connect quickly and faster and save a lot of time and save a lot of footprints also, energy, water, whatever we talk about. So thank you very much, sir, once again, on behalf of the entire Wednesdays for Water team, from the participants of our Wednesdays for Water. It's an absolute honor for us to have you today. Thank you, sir.
So much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice evening, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, presenters, for joining us today and enlightening us with your wisdom. Also, thank you all the participants for joining us and making the session interactive. Besides walking and talking water, worries and wisdoms collectively, we see this as a platform to cross-connect and expand our network and explore possible collaborations. We are also making notes to publish both scientific and non-scientific work. Here is a glimpse of some of our writings. You may reach us through email, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and also look at our website www.w4w.in. We look forward to your suggestions and comments to make the series more meaningful and engaging. And meanwhile, we hope that you appreciate today's session. We represent Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Hyderabad, Terry School of Advanced Studies, New Delhi, Environmental Design Consultants, Ahmedabad, FluxGen Sustainable Technologies, Bangalore, Counterview, and we are supported by Wiki's Water Resources Council. We truly appreciate your support and encouragement in conducting this series, and we hope that you will stay tuned with us through our social media platforms and our website, and you will write to us at our email IDs.